Hello and welcome to the Legal and General Just Covered podcast, where we talk to intermediaries and key stakeholders in the intermediary space. My name's Wayne.
And I'm Georgia, and today we are joined by Nathan Wootton from Waddle Insurance.
Hi, how you doing, guys?
Hi, Nathan. Brilliant
Good.
to have you. Thanks for coming on.
No problem.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Nathan. What's your role? What do you do on a day-to-day basis? And
So I am Operations Director at Waddle Insurance. Been there about 7 or 8 years now. Started at the very bottom, power planner, made my way through the protection advice, went into the training side of things to try and improve some of the processes, and then slowly built myself up into the operations side of the business now. So it's been a long journey, but it's worth it.
You've been up from the bottom. You've been in, done the job itself, if you like.
Definitely. I think it really helps when you've done the role yourself. You know, it's very difficult when you've worked in roles where someone comes in to try and show you how the process is done when they've never done it themselves. So being able to say I've been there and worn the t-shirt 10,000 times is definitely an easier way to train and improve people, you know. Excellent.
And in terms of Waddle Insurance, tell us a little bit more about them.
So we've been around for about 15 years. We started in the commercial GI area, and our director at the time started to see real problems with his clients' existing personal line protection policies in the way they were being sold, the way they were being advised, and clients not really understanding what they've got in place. Mm-hmm. So he revisited his entire book to look at beginning to go down the realms of advice and showing people what they had in place so they understood what they had, and if they weren't happy with it, essentially starting again and giving them what they needed by establishing proper need, proper risk, and educating them on what the industry actually looks like, what a policy actually does for you, and trying to put them in a stronger position financially moving forward. And from that point, about 7 or 8 years ago, is when Waddle began as protection advice.
Wow.
And was that a framework that everybody took on then from him, that he built out on how to position things?
It started with only about 2 advisors at the time, and it grew and grew and grew. It's essentially doubled every year, near enough, until about 2020, and then we've sort of remained consistent with where we were at. The process has obviously continually grown and got deeper and deeper and deeper, and we've explored other areas of the protection market, sort of, you know, the health insurance, business protection. We did start with just the life, critical illness and income protection side of things. Mm-hmm. But it's been a sort of process where we're trying to do better than what we see out there. So if there's a standard we think is being met, we want to be that bit higher. So our processes are changing every month, if not more often, just to keep making ourselves better and tighter with what we do with our customers.
That pursuit of excellence, really, then.
It's tiring, but it's what's needed. You know, customers need the best outcome, and they need to have confidence that they're going to have policies that are going to do the right thing for them. So,
which is, and at the time of filming, I suppose the FCA have given their own feedback around the protection gap, haven't they?
Exactly.
So
you know,
for us as a provider, for yourself as a distributor, it's great they've acknowledged that the need is out there. And firms like you, obviously, that's the North Star, customer excellence and all of that. You're getting in and making sure that that's at the centre of what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's a shame in some ways, because where we identified the issue 7 or 8 years ago was that education was clearly lacking. So there was a protection gap, and it almost felt like it was getting better. But over the last sort of 4, 5, 6 years post-COVID, it almost seems like it's getting worse. And now the FCA have identified that the protection gap isn't getting smaller, it's getting bigger. Yeah. And more needs to be done to help customers understand what policies are there to do and why insurance is there to protect them, you know?
L&G Apply is our new annuity application platform, designed to save you time on every application. Sign digitally and avoid rekeying client details, and track progress in real time. Tap the link in the episode description and our team will reach out to help you get started.
And what do you think's the cause of that protection gap then growing? I know you said kind of post-COVID. Would you put it all on that kind of era, or do you think there's other things going on?
I think there's a lot of factors that come into play. I think that with the different areas of the financial market that touch protection, that can cause a lot of confusion with customers. You don't tend to have a mortgage advisor that provides investment advice, but you will have a wealth advisor advise protection. You'll have a mortgage advisor advise protection. You'll have a protection advisor advise protection. So you've got so many different fields of people giving their opinion on how protection works, and they all look at it from a completely different angle. We very, very often find that people who have taken out a policy through a mortgage advisor have got a very mortgage-driven protection. It's what's protecting the four walls and the roof. It's not protecting the kids, not protecting the wife, the income. It's just protecting that property. When we look at it from a wealth side of things, they're just protecting their tax issues or their wealth from being lost to inheritance tax. There's no other concerns about where that protection need is, you know? So I think that kind of doesn't make our lives easier, because every factor of the financial services has their own agenda, which is right, but it also doesn't make it easier when we're all trying to do the best thing.
Yeah,
for
it's
a
their
customer.
specialism, is it? So that by default, they're approaching it in a certain way.
Exactly.
So I'm really interested. How do you approach that? Obviously, that wholesome protection conversation. So you're covering it from a generic protection subject matter angle. Then how do you do that?
So we steer very much away from mentioning the product for a very, very long time. Our protection journey with a client is usually somewhere between 3 and 4 hours as a whole. It's quite a drawn out process, but it's to make sure that the customer fully understands everything. Education is the absolute pillar of our entire process. We want to ensure that all of our clients leave their calls knowing exactly what a life insurance policy does, what terminal illness cover actually is, when they need to claim on a critical illness cover, what that actually looks like. With income protection, what it actually means when you turn the tap of your income off and none of your other bills need to stop for it, they will continue to go. You know, it's making sure they understand all of these things, the importance of a medical disclosure, the importance of making sure that they give us all the information as accurate as possible, because the impact it can have if they don't. So a lot of our conversation will be showing them how the industry actually works and how each of those products are designed to help someone in those scenarios. But from our perspective, we won't tell them that the product is best for them until we understand what they want or what they need,
Of course,
or what their risks are.
Fine. I'm really interested as well in terms of, it's quite a long process, it's quite lengthy. And in the industry, lots of firms have wrestled with what's the optimum time for an appointment or a number of appointments. How do you signpost that? Because obviously it's really important you go through that. How do you signpost that up front, that journey for the customer?
I think it's interesting you say that. With especially, you know, we work in telephony, so it's even harder sometimes because you haven't got that relationship with the customer. But with time, it's all about the rapport you've built with someone. If you struggle to build a relationship with that customer, you have limited time, and then you are under constraints of pressure to make sure you get that process done as soon as possible. And I think there can be a bit of a false understanding about what rapport actually is within the industry, especially from people who have had experience in customer services. I used to work in the bank and as a customer service advisor for 3-4 years before coming over to insurance.
A whole new podcast report.
Yeah, I was thinking
I like that.
And it was always about, you know, understanding how their day was going, or, you know, what their kids were having for dinner, where they were going on holiday this year, you know, how many dogs they've got. And none of that means anything because there's no substance to it. So it's the more education and value you bring to a customer through their understanding, the more rapport you build. And then naturally, the more rapport you build, you gain trust and you gain an unlimited amount of time with that customer. As long as you're giving someone value, they'll give you your time. So we've never really seen an issue with our longevity piece.
I love that focus on the customer.
I think it's an area that we find a lot of advisors, certainly new advisors into the industry, can struggle with, is the conversation skill set that they have to build up. And I think that's where we start seeing a lot of things like product dump. And so it's really interesting to see how you move away from that. That's at the end. What in terms of the conversation, what area do you find is the trickiest to have with the client?
I think it's approaching conversations that they have never had before when it comes to protection advice. So there's so many different methods in which you can take out a policy. You can do it in 10 minutes through a comparison website. You can go direct to an insurer and they just tell them what you want and run an application. You can do it with a mortgage broker. But with us, we will try our best to do a full breakdown of exactly how that household operates, to the most minor details of understanding what they spend their daily £10 lunch on, and how their council tax has gone up over the last 2-3 years, what their finance agreements are and how long they run for. So we can see the absolute intricacy of how their day and life and entire lifestyle, I suppose, operates. That's probably the hardest conversation, because it's something that traditionally a customer's not really used to having when they're having a protection conversation. Is, why do I have to give all of these outgoing information? You're asking more questions than potentially a mortgage advisor would. But if we're going to protect their income and ensure that they have the exact same lifestyle that they have right now, regardless of whether they're sick or signed off work for 2, 3, 4 years, we need to know that information, because we need to be able to provide the answer to protect those risks, you know. So that tends to be the hardest one, is trying to get people to really open up about all of their finances and give very, very personal information away, you know.
It's about making sure that they can appreciate that importance, I suppose, up front, in terms of that, how it relates to their family, how it relates to the whole thing, doesn't it? Rather than just being transactional, that it could have been before. I'm not saying it was, but it could have been.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the education's there, you educate the customer, because if you tell them why you need the information and they can see that it's a reason that's going to value them, they're never going to have any issues in giving that information to you, So I think that's one of the hurdles I personally came across when I started the role, because I'd had so much experience in customer service. I'd always tread very carefully around the more difficult conversations, because I was always wanting to do what's best for them. But what is best for them is pulling them through the process and holding their hand the entire time, not asking if they want to do something, because you know what you need to do to lead them through that process. And it's
and we can all people please, don't we? To a certain extent, we're all
Of
like
course.
that, aren't we? That's why we're in the roles we're in. But at the same time, you have to take a step back and be confident and think, right, this is the right thing to do, and this is how I'm going to almost lead the customer to let them appreciate the importance in what we're doing, in the process you're having and building that trust. Now, I just wanted to bring you back to something that hopefully an excellent time last year, probably sometime in the middle of last year. Little birdie tells me that I think you are a Business Quality Award winner.
Yes, we
of
are.
BQAs.
We are indeed. Very,
Customer
very
outcome,
impressive.
is it not?
Yes, excellent customer outcome. So we've sort of tucked ourselves away in the little corner of Swansea for a very, very long time, just doing what we do best and making sure we do it right. But we thought it was about time to see if it's good enough in the industry's eyes. So we obviously put a submission through, got nominated for 3 awards at the
Fantastic.
BQAs and came away with 1, which was fantastic.
Amazing.
And then even led on to 2 more awards last year. We won Intermediary of the Year, a protection review, and we won an excellence in customer outcomes from Cover as well. So it was a fantastic
So you probably
year for
could
us.
have looked earlier than last
Yeah,
year
we
and the year
should have
before.
probably.
You've obviously been smashing it. That's fantastic.
It's refreshing. And I think it really sometimes, sales, which is what it is, if we're really going to be honest, is tough, and it can be exhausting, and sometimes it's hard to see the wood through the trees. So when you come home and you bring those awards to the team and show them that this is the work you guys have done, this is because of the positions you've put your customers in, it really builds that morale and pushes people to drive harder.
That ultimate purpose, isn't it? People feel brought in then. We're part of something bigger now, aren't we? In that, okay, I've contributed to that. It's a bit like the janitor thing that you talk about.
Oh, I love the janitor thing. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's heard this. The janitor that put a man on the moon.
Oh no, I haven't.
I love seeing the blank expression whenever I mention it. But so it was when it was moonshot. So they were trying to put a man on the moon, NASA, and the president was going around shaking hands, doing the big politician thing. Saw a janitor and asked them, okay, what do you do? Expecting that, I keep the place clean. I make sure it's all safe and everything. And it was, no, I put a man on the moon. I helped put that man on the moon. And it was just that higher purpose piece. And I think it's really interesting to see those wins and what they did for you and your team.
Yeah.
You do need that.
That janitor thing, exactly. When you're bringing those awards back, it's that all in all, isn't it?
Yeah, you do need a kind of a pat on the back and a job well done at the end of the day, because sometimes we can get tunnel vision in the day to day, and taking ourselves above that to really look at the good job that we've been doing is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And especially when, you've got the sales team who are front on and they experience the good that we do. But when you've got more of the, we've got 35 staff that aren't on the phones to advisors. So they're the ones which day in, day out are doing all the processes in the background and doing the paperwork, the administration. They don't get that sort of, I don't know what the word is.
They don't get that recognition really for the work they've done. Yeah.
So it was fantastic. We're going to have to hopefully get a
it's
trophy
linking,
cabinet
isn't it?
this
Because
year,
every
but-
business has got a mission statement or something, and someone might be thinking either consciously or subconsciously, how do I fit into that? Well, here's your link.
Yeah.
The awards are there, aren't they?
Definitely.
That's why we're in this.
So I'm guessing you'd recommend people to put in them for the BQAs and different awards then.
100%. It's done a lot for morale, and it's done a lot to push us to be better, because the one thing I didn't want to do was sort of say, well, we've done that now, brilliant, that's us done. It's right, what can we do more now, so it allows you to keep driving positive and strong performances. So yeah, definitely.
So if there was a firm out there that was teetering on, shall we enter or not in terms of the Business Quality Awards, what would you say to them?
I'd 100% say go for it. It wasn't something we did on our own. We had so much support from our BDM, and they helped us show what a good submission looks like. So they were completely open and honest, telling us what we had done was good, bad, what needs tweaks, what they're not looking for, what they are looking for. So it's not something you'd ever do alone as well. Reach out to your BDM and request that support, and they'll happily help you submit it through,
It's so exciting to see that. So, I mean, I know you've mentioned before, I heard education is the pillar.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're very passionate about driving? Is there anything else that you really kind of hold in the same esteem with that in terms of your purpose and what you want in the team to kind of move forwards with?
It's education and end-to-end journey. So it's a lot of sales, unfortunately, end at the point of a sale. So we invest heavily into our back office departments. Very untraditionally, we have a very strange ratio between advisors and remainder of staff, because we have a claims department. We've got a development team who build our own CRM system. So we will continually make sure that whatever is built into our CRM system is the best it can be to make that process as perfect for a customer, utilizing tools with the massive increase in AI usage over the industry over the last sort of 5 years, to really be able to provide logical, educational software or tools that can be given to customers throughout that journey, so they've got something they can physically go off as well. Because what you can find is when you're in a very long process with a customer, educating them, and you come off a call for 3.5 hours, it's very hard to remember absolutely everything that you've had that conversation
You
before.
No, you
just
can't.
You can't retain
especially
that
if it's something
information.
you're not au fait with, something new to you.
Exactly. We've got our own additional processes where we reach out to the loved ones of our customers to provide them with a copy of the policy documents as well. One of the big issues that doesn't really get talked about much in the industry is how many policies go unclaimed, because people don't tell their loved ones and their family members about it. So we allow our customers to nominate someone, and we reach out to them and offer them the documents as well. So if anything ever happens,
isn't it?
they can reach out to
I
And
us.
feel
in terms
like
of
that
existing
stands
customers
out,
as well, in
doesn't it?
terms of existing customers, that must help with the brand, because you've got a claims team as well. And it's always the element in distribution, isn't it? Making sure that your brand's out there. So when something happens, the customer thinks of you as a brand. So how do you approach that? I'm presuming AI is coming into that if it hasn't already as well.
Yeah, slowly. I mean, it's a big push for us this year. We've rebranded last year and completely relaunched our website. It was extremely dated. It was kind of released when we first opened and not really looked at. So it's been completely rebranded with the customer as the full focus. So we're pushing even more on our education in there. We're on a bi-weekly or monthly basis as a minimum. We're putting insights on from our advisors, telling their stories, showing them what products actually do for customers in certain scenarios based on experiences they've had. So we're really trying to build the brand and build that educational piece as a side part of the advice that we give. But we know it works because we, from processing our own claims report this year, we can see how many of our claims or claimants have been reached out through the policy keepers that we reach out to and offer that advice to. So we know that the end-to-end process that we give those customers is what's right. It doesn't sadly pay any bills for us, but it's what we've promised to do from the day we've spoken to that customer. So it's definitely the right thing to do.
Promise, it's that halo effect, isn't it? In terms of you've promised to do it, that trust, galvanization from customers. I know you don't know, you can't always directly correlate it to something there and then in terms of what you get back, but overall that's got to help. That's got to help your business, it's got to help your brand, it's got to help when people are referring themselves or friends and family to you. It's got to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we get a lot of natural work in from clients who have recommended colleagues, brothers, sisters, parents, children, the lot. But like you said, it's that promise that we will uphold to look after you throughout the entire life. And I think that is something that it would be fantastic to see more of. We talk about our claims team to our BDMs on the regular about things we've experienced, and the amount of raised eyebrows we get that we have a claims department is sadly quite upsetting. I think in this world of advice, we're very quick to do a review with someone and look after their policies as much as possible. When the point comes of why we've sold that policy, there's no one there to help, and that's a real sort of sad thing for us to see happen. But from our claims, it's also a fantastic morale boost. When an advisor gets told, it's a horrible story to know that one of their clients has sadly passed or gone through something serious, but that feeling that they get, knowing that hang on a minute, I've just paid off that family's mortgage. I've just made sure that those kids aren't ever going to have to go without. That gives your job purpose, you know?
And I think you really stand out with the fact you have the claims team there to support that. Like you said, it's the trickier conversation, but that is ultimately what we're here for. I think the thing that I'm picking out is the fact that you're educating with the stories. And that's something that we're very passionate about at L&G, certainly within our MDM team. Just tell me a little bit more about that. Is that the type of insights that you're sharing on your website then?
Yes, so we've got an insights page on our website, and every month we'll have a topic. So whether that be children's critical illness cover, business protection, we try to have a look at what's sort of being talked about within the industry within that sort of timescale. And we will look at sort of experiences that our advisors have had with a retention problem or putting a client on risk from a harrowing story they've had from an existing policy or a life experience, or someone from our claims department that's dealt with a claim, to educate the customer on the importance of that product, because this is what we've experienced and this is how we helped customer A get from X to Z, you know. So it's
and it helps put people up in lights as well. It's that overall purpose piece again, isn't it?
definitely it builds morale in my team because they feel they've got a proper purpose, like you said, you know. So it's a good push, and it's something that is needed more. You know, it's doing a tiny little thing, but it's our effort to try and close that protection gap as much as possible.
So I suppose kind of one key thing that I'd love to know a little bit more about, because you say that you invest quite heavily in that, is that kind of once that policy is on risk, what happens next? What do you guys focus on, that kind of review period? Tell us a little bit more about that, because I think that's certainly an area that a lot of advisors don't pay as much attention to because they can be so busy, and it might just fall by the wayside a little bit, or they just don't know what else they could be doing to help improve their own process.
Of course, yeah. We're very old school protection advisors, so we still send out a paper pack.
Actually, in today's digital world, how is that going down?
Extremely appreciated. It's one of the most common if you know there's a delay in the postal service or there's any strikes or something, the first thing we'll always realise is that there's 10, 15 emails coming through. Oh, I haven't received any documents from my insurer. It's the first thing anyone cares about is, where are my documents? Because I need them if something happens to me.
Do you see a difference in the age group within that? Does that tend to be leaning more with your older clients, or are you seeing the same with first-time buyers?
Yeah, across the board. It's that peace of mind, because it's with a product that's not tangible. Exactly. That brings a little bit of tangibility to it.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
We've got a welcome team then that will go through every single one of the documents, the policy schedules, to run through again the information that was provided so it syncs in one more time. Paper trust documents, so we'll help them fill in the trust documents so they don't make mistakes, because they are very difficult documents to fill in. And if there's one mistake, the whole thing's void. So we'll try our best to mitigate any of those issues. And then allow them to have that if they ever need it, then to utilise, fingers crossed not, but in the worst times to be able to claim.
You really are there every step of the way. I like the fact post-sale, people are there to help them with the documentation, to navigate their way through it. They can link it back to the conversation as well that the advisor would have had. Great stuff. It's just those little touch points. I'm a big believer in that. Those just, however small those touch points are, to galvanise that brand for them and that loyalty. And the fact to know that you're there, you're doing what you say you're going to do.
And that's the thing, you can't have empty promises. You know, you have to, if you're going to make a promise, you've got to live up to it. In regards to the reviewing and keeping up to date with customers, we have our own legacy team. So I've got a group of advisors that are purely designed to deal with ongoing reviews of customers. So touching base, seeing what they have changed in their circumstances, when we're looking at their wants, needs and desires from our first call, seeing if they've managed to buy that house that they were looking to buy, or go on that long dreamed holiday they want to take on the kids. So it's just continuing to remind them we're here if you need us, you know. And a lot of the time it doesn't mean that we have to rewrite something or make an extra pound or something off a client. You know, it's there just to touch base and make sure there's no new risks or any issues that do need to be mitigated.
And it reminds them they have the cover there as
exactly
well.
That.
Year, 2 years down the line, you're re-emphasising that point.
Yeah, because the research we've done, customers often don't remember they've had the conversation. Secondly, they don't understand the cover they've got. So doing that is going to help it, isn't it?
Well, we were just talking before we started, didn't we? Good long-term memory, but our short-term memory, maybe not quite there the whole time, but our clients will be the same. Our clients will exactly be the same though, won't they? And it's re-emphasising, it's embedding that knowledge deeper and deeper each time you speak to them.
A lot of our prospective clients that come through who want to take out a policy because they don't have any protection in place, as we're doing our income and expenditure and we're getting them to go through their direct debit so we can understand exactly what they're spending their money on, all of a sudden we come across 1, 2, 3, sometimes even 4 or 5 policies they didn't even know existed. You know, and it's a shame, but it's what we're here for.
And occasionally, I'm sure you've uncovered what I would call a good financial outcome for the customer, because there may be a policy there that they could have claimed on.
So many times. And we will, even though they're technically not one of our clients at the time, we'll help them through the claim. We'll do a letter of authority and we'll put that straight to our claims team and allow them to hold their hand through the claim.
And that's why we really position ourselves with having a no claims cut-off as well.
Exactly that.
I knew that's probably where you were thinking there.
Yeah, good segue there, George. I like
it. But it's so important because we know that this is the reality of what happens, isn't it? You know, a lot of people will forget they've got a policy. They maybe would have needed to make a claim. You know, we don't want to put a barrier up at L&G for them to be able to do that. We
notice a lot with retention as well. Every advisor will look after their clients. So if one of their clients sadly misses a direct debit or cancels their direct debit for whatever reason, we'll touch base and just see what's going on. And the amount of claims that come because of that, because they've had to take a long time off work because they're ill and they forget what the policy does. So they're thinking, well, I need to cut back. I'll cancel this direct debit because I don't need it. And then it turns into a claim. And we've had that countless times, you know. So it's important, like you said, to just hold their hand the entire way and make sure that they're looked after.
I presume you use our system to do that. Obviously, we can see that when a direct debit is cancelled, that type of thing, missed payments. How do you find that? Is that good?
Yeah, very good. We, any early warning system is fantastic for us. Yeah. The insurer we choose, as much as it's important to pick the best insurer for the customer because of how good that product is.
Of course, yeah.
One of the biggest signifiers for us is how well can we manage our customer utilising this system. Because if we can't manage our customer utilising that product, then we're not living up to the promise that we've given to this customer from the second we first spoke to them. So we always make sure that we can utilise systems that will allow us to look after and manage that customer for the life of their policy, but also for their life in full, you know.
Great to hear. Wow. So I think what I would absolutely love to know is kind of, have you had a pivotal moment within your so many years experience where something clicked or it made a difference or it lit a fire to carry on with that pursuit of excellence we mentioned before? Something that really stands out to you, and it might not be one defining, maybe be a few that kind of leads up to it.
I think there's probably two. We've already touched on one. Winning the BQA was definitely one for me, but my first claim, I think, was the turning point for me. That was when I went from a protection advisor to someone who makes a difference, and I felt it. You know, even though I have done that from the day I started advising, you don't feel like you have. Mm-hmm. So when that story comes through of the claim being successful and looking after that family, you then do realise, hang on a minute, that's my job.
It's a different ball game now, isn't it?
100%.
It's the big league.
It completely changes. And I see it now managing my entire team of advisors. I can see who real advisors are because they're the ones that have experienced a claim. It's not until I think you get your first success I say a success because it's off the back of something tragic, obviously, but that's what changes people's perspectives.
Do you think you could tell if you didn't know the individual, you would know one that had a claim and one hadn't had a claim?
I think so. I don't know if it's because I know my team so well.
Maybe.
I truly do think so.
Yeah. Is it the passion and the belief? I ask it a lot when I'm stood in front of advisors, you know, who changed how they speak about protection after having a claim come through.
Definitely.
And everybody says that they do. Because it just lights a fire, the passion, the belief in the product.
Belief is one for sure.
It's huge, isn't it, really?
And, you know, I've already said it's not tangible. So when it becomes tangible, that's when
that fire and passion just down here is just there, isn't it?
Massive. That's it. Yeah. And then the second one would be the BQAs. It made me realise, hang on a minute, we are good at what we do. Because there's so many days where you doubt yourself, you know, and we have, you know, potentially a bad call or something to the process. You think, how have we been doing it that way when we could have been doing it this? And you start building in those self-doubts in the life of sales that you do have. Mm-hmm. Getting that recognition of, no, you are doing things right was fantastic. And that's sort of lit a real fire in me to say, right, what can we do to be better? Yeah. Because there's always something we can do.
It's that human nature piece, isn't it? It's always the negative bit that knocks you off.
Yeah.
You've got to think about how can we
never think about the positives at any point.
Exactly. You just need to keep going. And it's that wider purpose, that self-belief from having the claim. That's absolutely amazing. I'm loving it.
So, I mean, what I would love to know is, do you have a kind of story that you lean on quite a bit when you're educating your clients? I mean, I know that you have had claims, things like that. Do you utilize that in helping you position the importance of protection? Do you have a hero story?
I think my biggest hero story, which I lean on quite a lot when I'm training my team, because it shows them the value of how hard the job can be sometimes at the end point. So I had a client who had been my client for 1, 2, maybe even 3 years. And he had called me up because he wanted to cancel the policy. The client had sadly had a massive falling out with his daughter, who the money was designed to go to as an ongoing gift if something happened to him. Again, if I'd not had a proper retention process in place, it would have just been cancelled down and that would have been it. I spoke with the customer, understood what actually happened here. You know, is it something that is permanent, or have we just had a bit of a major falling out which potentially could be patched over in a few months? So we talked it through, and I told him just to suspend the direct debit for a month because it gives us some time to have a conversation. Let's touch base and just see where we're at, because I don't want you to lose the cover if it's a mistake further down the line. And he touched base with me 2 weeks later and they'd made up, and it was just a whim of the moment. I shouldn't have done it. Thank you very much for being there and having that conversation and making sure it was the right decision. And the client sadly took his life 6 months later. And his daughter received the money, which it was horrible. Probably one of the most emotional stories we've had. But off the back of it, it shows that what looking after clients really does, you know? And that's how I kind of deliver the promise that we make to our customers. It's not just an empty word. It's, we will look after you through every step of your life. Whether it's the bad, the good, new prospects, we're there, you know, and that's
You
our
hadn't have
promise
asked
to you.
those wider questions around the actual situation, the real situation, that could have been totally
It
different.
would have never paid out, you know.
Yeah.
And it's caring about customers, you know. It's not caring about product, it's not caring about outcome, it's caring about them, you know, what matters to you. Because if it is the case that in that scenario that you are never going to speak to your daughter again, then fine. But let's make sure that is what is going to happen first, you know.
I think that shows the importance of building the rapport up to be able to have that conversation, because they are very tricky conversations. We know that. I think a lot of advisors shy away from it because they feel like it's a tricky conversation. But if you focus on building up that rapport first and foremost, it does make it a little bit easier to approach tricky things like obviously the falling out of family members.
Yeah, definitely.
Not many people would carry that through.
You had that relationship, didn't you? You felt comfortable be able to do it. And again, that's a rapport piece, as I said earlier, probably another podcast there. Maybe we get back and talk about that.
We take all of our advisors through a lot of training in-house. And not so much on product, because that's what the insurers are there for, and they can sell it to my advisors far better than I can. But the way I try and build the confidence in these advisors is those conversations, you know. Sadly but positively, I've had some horrendous life experience with things like family history, so it's horrible, but it makes my job so much easier when I'm having conversations with people, because I'm comfortable to talk about it and I know what's sensitive and what's easy to talk about. But it's trying to break those walls down early on with advisors so that they don't build up that anxiety to approach those conversations, because things like mental health, it's such a stigma that it's really hard to talk about. But if you talk to anyone who has mental health, they're some of the most open people who are happy to talk about it, because that's what helps. So I think that's one of the really core parts of our training, is to really break those walls down so that you just have a human conversation with someone.
Doesn't it? It really builds that up.
And it builds that empathy skill and being relatable, because we're all human at the end of the day.
Definitely. It's sometimes a struggle, obviously, trying to get that balance between empathy and sympathy, and that's where we've got to be cautious, you know. But
and it is crucial being cognizant of that. I know what you mean with regards to it.
Yeah.
I'm actually loving what Waddle do. I'm loving what you do as well, Nathan. Thank you for coming on so much. We're doing something new this year in the podcast for 2026, where we get you to answer a sort of a previous question from a previous attendee on the podcast. So it might be worth asking that particular question, because really interested in terms of what you might want to say and how you'll answer that as well.
Yeah, okay. I think this is really where we can create that kind of community, that link
I like that.
for
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So your question that was left by our previous guest was, what's a daily habit or ritual that helps you stay grounded or productive?
Coming off the back of not only the BQA, but the cover award and then protection intermediary of the year, it's very easy to just sit back and go, there we go. We're the best and we know we're the best. And that's good enough. But if you rest on that in an ever-changing environment, then you are going to fall behind and we need to be better. So one thing I do every morning is look at the tasks I completed yesterday. What could I have done better is my biggest question every single time. There's always something in the process that I've delivered or taught, or the session I had or the meeting I had with some of my advisors or my sales manager, that I could have said something a bit better. Because if I don't reflect and I think that we're doing everything right, that's where stuff falls behind in the background. So it's the way I try to keep myself grounded from not trying to get too big-headed of winning awards and slowly filling a trophy cabinet, you know? So
yeah, you want to get through the front door, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I think that's it, reflecting on what I did yesterday. Make sure that all my tasks, before they get ticked off, have I done everything right? Really scrutinise what I could have done better, and then try and push to be better the next day.
That's brilliant.
That's so good. And I think that actually segues very nicely in what I would love to know. What's the future outlook for Waddle? What's next?
So we're in a big growth phase this year. We are doubling down on our business protection team. There's a massive gap in the market, and sadly people aren't still really making the most of that protection advice. So we're going to restructure our process and look at going at it from a different angle, and build knowledge in my advisors of getting to know how a business works, understanding the ins and outs of their business so that they can then advise the risks and the products like we do with our personal clients, not falling down the trap of the product push, you know. So that's a big push. And then who knows, we have dropped insurance from our title and just become Waddle, because we may venture out into other areas of the financial sector as well. So
very exciting.
Watch this space.
Well, yeah.
Everyone else better quake in their boots here. You guys are coming for them.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
Well, thank you so much for answering that, Nathan. Really, really good to hear that. But moving forward, what we want to know is, what's your question for the next guest on the Just Cover podcast?
My question would be, following the FCA review that we've all had very, very recently, what is your approach to working to close that protection gap moving forward?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a very good question. And I'm looking forward to asking.
I want to know the answer to that one.
As well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely amazing, Nathan. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. The Waddle story is just fantastic, and we're just looking forward to seeing how it grows and grows and grows.
Thank you very much.
Thanks once again. It's been amazing.
No, I really appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Thank you.